composer who did the arrangement we just heard was born 102 years ago and grew up when it was very unusual for a woman to succeed in a highly male-dominated field like classical music. It was even less common for a black woman to do so. Her name was Margaret Bonds, who at the age of 20 made history as the first African-American guest piano soloist with the Chicago Symphony Orchestra in 1933.
One of our own BRIC staff, Ashley Jackson, did her doctoral dissertation at Juilliard School, and not only is here to tell us why we should remember Margaret Bonds, but in a few minutes she'll perform for us, this time on the harp. Ashley, welcome to BK Live. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Let's start with Margaret Bonds. What made you want to write a dissertation about her?
Sure. When I was thinking about topics to pursue for my dissertation, I wanted something that was interdisciplinary. And I also wanted a topic that would continue to inspire me as I would continue to write and write. And so I came across a short biography about Margaret Bonds and was intrigued by her career, which spanned from the Harlem Renaissance through the Civil Rights Movement. And I was also really interested by her relationship with Langston Hughes. And so it just seemed like a story that I would want to tell.
What was that relationship with Langston Hughes?
They met actually in Chicago, where Margaret Bonds is originally from. And when she moved to New York in 1939, she and Langston Hughes were neighbors. Oh, wow. And they also collaborated on a number of projects, but she also was very interested in his poetry from early on in her life, and so she set a lot of his poetry to music.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've never heard of her before, so it's really exciting that you brought her out of the darkness in terms. So in terms of the harp, this is a very specific instrument. Tell us how you made that choice to begin studying the harp.
Sure. I started playing harp at age 7, and at that age you don't realize that you will one day have to move it yourself. But I was a pianist before, and my first piano teacher, her daughter, was a harpist, and she taught harp where I took piano lessons. And I guess I was naturally curious, and have been playing ever since.
What other instruments do you play?
I also played violin for a little bit.
Okay. Getting back to Margaret Bonds, I want to ask, in 1933, she was the first piano soloist, am I getting that right, at the Chicago Symphony Orchestra.
Correct.
What sort of progress do you think African Americans, specifically in music, have made since that time in 1933?
Sure. I mean, because of civil rights legislation, and we've had more opportunities than ever to attend higher institutions of learning and to really pursue classical music. That being said, we are still underrepresented in major symphony orchestras, and so there's still a lot of progress to be made. And something else I would also mention is that in the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, I think there was a real sense of urgency among Black artists to kind of form organizations and really kind of promote their own works. And today, I wonder if some of that has been lost because of advances that have been made. I wonder if we lose some of that.
Like, what aspects specifically? Any that you'd like to discuss? Or?
Sure. Well, Margaret Bonds, she formed a chamber music society in the 1950s, and they gave a concert at Carnegie Hall. And it was a concert featuring all Black composers. All the musicians were African American. And so just to kind of think about that happening today, I mean, there are organizations and chamber ensembles, but I don't know. It's just on that scale, I wonder if we lost a little bit of that.
Yeah,
today.
I wonder why that hasn't, why it didn't continue on. Did she leave family behind? Like, did she have family members?
She did. She had one daughter.
Or involved in her legacy?
Yeah, Margaret Bonds, actually, she passed away in 1972. Her daughter passed away in the 1990s.
Oh, okay.
And so there's lots of mysteries surrounding her story.
So what selection are we going to hear you play today?
Okay, yeah, I chose a piece by Katie Aghosh. She is a recent Juilliard graduate student, and I chose the piece because it's a female composer, but I loved it when I heard it. It's kind of incorporates bluegrass styles and is based on an Appalachian tune, and I think part of Margaret Bonds' style was heavily rooted in American traditions.
Right.
And so the piece, I'm playing the first movement, which is titled John Riley, from Katie Aghosh's Every Lover is a Warrior.
Great. And on a personal note, how difficult is it to just carry this beautiful instrument around Brooklyn?
It's okay. I rent a car and I have help everywhere I go. Everyone's been really helpful. The snow hasn't been too kind. But
Okay.
aside from that,
It's all right.
Get around.
It's all right. Cool.
It's such a pleasure to meet you, Dr. Jackson. Thank you very much
yeah,
for being
okay,
here.
thanks for having me, and I hope you
Yes.
enjoy the piece.